This is the Rose 32, number 20. This is probably one of the most popular etudes in all of the Rose etudes. It is on so many auditions. I've heard it probably millions of times at this point in my life. It's actually got some very tricky moments to it. And, I'm going to relate this one to also the other articulated etude within the All-State Team EA list, talking about the articulation, because I think that's one of the reasons we have this particular etude on the list, is that it has articulation in it, a certain kind of articulation. Now, growing up in Texas myself, I had some amazing teachers, amazing band directors, amazing orchestra directors. They were all so supportive. And one of the things about the types of articulations that I now realize that I learned a lot from Texas. I really did. And when I went to college, I was totally prepared in so many ways. But there were a couple of aspects that I struggled with. And one was actually articulation and the kinds of articulations that one does on the clarinet. And, I relate this to the very famous number 4 from the 32, which is the articulated. It just does that forever, and it feels like it's very difficult to keep doing that kind of articulation. Now, when I was younger, we were all taught to play that articulation like super, super short. Now, for me, because I was never like a fast articulator, it was a real struggle for me when I was younger. And I had friends I was sitting next to, and they could just do that like it was nothing. Like they never practiced it. And it drove me crazy because I felt like it was the one thing that I had nightmares about. And as I got older, I started to figure out for myself what it was that made it work for me. And I think it was 1994, I went on a tour with Sabine Meyers, the famous Sabine Meyers, and Eddie Daniels, the great jazz clarinetist, jazz classical clarinetist. And I asked Sabine, because I was such a fan of her performances and her Weber Clarinet Concerto recordings, how she was able to articulate so clearly and so lightly. And I just wanted to be able to do that. And I was probably at that point in my 30s, and I was still trying to figure it out for myself. Well, she told me that I just never play anything short. She says, when I'm practicing things, I just want to be able to play things light and easy and fast and not worry about the shortness of it. And I said, well, give me an exercise. So here is Sabine Meyers' exercise that she gave me at her house amidst cooking dinner for all of us after a long day of recording sessions, and in which she recorded the Stravinsky 3 pieces, which everybody knows, straight through one time. I was always amazed by that. So this is the exercise. She says, take an open G and just play it one note. Okay, and then add 1 to it. Just keep adding 1. Don't stop the air and don't stop the articulation. Don't make it really stopped and short. Just keep it moving and don't stop the air. That's the most important thing. So you don't want to do this. Where I'm tapering the air in my lungs. I want to keep the air moving really fast the whole time. And this is the secret to this etude. So when you practice this etude, you don't want to go. You don't want to do it short like that, because in the long run, when you're trying to move it fast, it's going to get stopped. So legato, to me, legato articulation is more successful in a faster speed than it is in a really like stopped tongue that you're going fast. It just gets stuck. So that's something I would practice. Take this etude, first slow it. And then add legato to it. Super, super long. And then start adding speed to it. Okay, so that's one of the major things in this etude and the other one that's in the Team EA, is just practice it so that it's extremely easy and long for a long time. As you start to speed it up, keep that lightness, keep that legato. So the other aspect of this particular etude, number 20, that I think freaks everybody out is the trill section. And this particular area, it has these little moments, it's very uncomfortable trills on the clarinet. And in this particular section, in I think it's measure 17 through 21, it has these moments. So that is kind of tricky because you're trying to get two trills in there. Now, one thing to keep in mind is to keep your fingers really close and or on the keys themselves the whole time when you're trilling. Don't let them lift away. A lot of times we see students do this. You're just making more work for yourself. So being really careful that you're keeping it on. That way you're able to get a faster connection to the key itself. So, and practice it a lot of times without the trills and make sure that the rhythm is correct first. Great etude, great to practice this one. Take your time and play things very slowly and very legato, and you're going to be great.